Hello everyone, my name is Ilani Makahanaloa and my presentation will be about the zero waste movement. So before we go into the zero waste movement, we first need to define it. So the definition for the zero waste movement is a philosophy that aims to resource life cycle so that all products are reused. The goal is for no trash to be sent to landfills, incinerators, or the ocean, and this process replicates the way resources are reused in nature. Why was the zero waste movement even created? And the only answer that I can give you is because of climate change. I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, what is climate change? And so the definition of climate change is any significant long-term change in the expected patterns of average weather of a region or the whole Earth over a significant period of time. Climate change is about abnormal variations to the climate and the effects of these variations on other parts of the Earth. And so as you can see here, the visual that I provided was from NASA. And so this was made, in January of this year. And so as you can see, there's a lot of red in the graph over the world, and that's not right. Especially if you take a look at the North and South poles, which are typically very cold and should be blue, they're actually very red. So that is what would define as climate change, is, especially for those regions that have always been cold, freezing actually, and are now heating up. And so another visual that I've provided is kind of the aftermath of the first visual. So since the world is heating up and the North and South poles are heating up, that means that all the ice that was there for I don't know how many years are now melting. And so that would create an increase in sea levels. And so this satellite data, also provided by NASA, the data is from 1993 to the present. And so the rate of change right now is 3.4 millimeters per year. Now, when you think about it, that's not a very large margin, 3.4 millimeters. But when you think about that every year, and also that the rate of change is increasing, maybe in our lifetime, sea levels could increase so much that we would have to live on the ocean in boats, we don't know. But sea levels increasing means less land to live on, which is bad. And so this next graph is, what happens when climate change affects how we as humans live our lives. And so in a nutshell, humans are hurting themselves. As you can see, climate change affects, our ability to have fresh water. That means, less water quantity and the safety of our water. Due to altered precipitation, there's population displacement because there's not enough water for that population to survive. Freshwater decline means biodiversity loss and ecosystem function. That means decline in ecosystem services. Because of climate change, that means there is stratospheric ozone depletion, which means more exposure to UV, which ultimately, if you notice, all of those arrows point to human health. And so this next visual is just kind of in detail on what climate change can have on our human health. So I'm going to start with air pollution. Air pollution would cause asthma, cardiovascular disease, changes in vector ecology due to more extreme weather would be malaria, dengue, Rift Valley fever, literally all the worst things that could happen to a human. Since the sea levels are rising, that means increased allergens, which means respiratory allergies and asthma. Water quality impacts could cause, harmful algae blooms, water and food supply impacts, could be malnutrition, diarrheal disease, environmental degradation means forced migration, be civil conflict, mental health impacts. The biggest one probably be extreme heat. Heat-related illnesses and death, cardiovascular failure, just due to the climate change and the Earth becoming a lot more warmer. And so there's a lot of things that are going on right now. But we do have solutions. And I know you guys have probably heard of the 3 R's since, elementary days, but they are the easiest way to prevent climate change. So the 3 R's are, of course, reduce. If there is less waste, then there is less waste to reuse or recycle. Reuse, finding a new way to reuse trash so that it doesn't have to be thrown out. Recycle, using trash to remake new goods so they can be sold again. And so, what are we reducing exactly? There's a lot of things that we need to reduce, but probably the biggest one has to be our plastic. And so this visual right here is just an example of a few of the things that a lot of us use every day. And it just shows how long it takes for it to be able to biodegrade. So, a coffee cup, a styrofoam coffee cup. A lot of us just get coffee at Starbucks, and we get it every single day, and we have no idea that actually a styrofoam cup takes about 50 years to biodegrade. An aluminum can, soda, juice, it takes about 200 years to biodegrade. One diaper takes 450 years to biodegrade. You know how many diapers parents go through, in a month, daily even. Plastic water bottle takes 450 years also to biodegrade. Another one that's found in a lot of ocean pollution is fishing line, and that takes up to 600 years for it to biodegrade. So, why are we reducing? This visual shows the kind of garbage patches that are seen all over the world, or gyres. They're whirlpools of water trapping huge collections of trash in their currents. As you can see, they're everywhere. Every, large ocean has these garbage patches. And I just wanted to take this example of the North Pacific gyre, and home of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. It's estimated 3.2 million tons of trash, about the size of Texas by some accounts, located between Hawaii and California. Now, when you think about that, Hawaii, we are surrounded by ocean, and we heavily depend on our ocean resources, fish, seafood, everything like that. So when you think about it, with the 3.2 million tons of trash, we're probably, all of us are ingesting plastic while we eat the seafood. Think about it. We have a candy wrapper, for example. Candy wrapper, you don't recycle it. It ends up in the ocean. A fish, maybe like an ahi or something, ingests it. And then when we go, a fisherman catches the fish and we make poke out of it, we have small little plastic pieces in our poke that we eat. And that's, last time I checked, plastic ingestion is a big health hazard. So just think about that the next time you have your plastic, and think about where it would go. So these next few slides are just pictures that I think create kind of an emotional response to the zero waste movement. And these pictures actually, really changed my mindset as far as creating zero waste. So as you can see, a surfer is surfing, very common in Hawaii, but you can also tell that there's a lot of trash and plastic in the ocean. We have some of the most beautiful beaches in the world, and to think that, soon maybe all those beaches are covered in plastic and trash, it's just disgusting. The next one is a little boy in Thailand, and as you can see, the river that he is currently drinking water from is polluted. He will have health, effects from drinking polluted water, and it's just really sad to see a child not being able to have clean water to drink. This one is a fisherman, also from Thailand. Him and his father and the father before him have all been fishermen, which is something I can relate to as well. As I come from a family of fishermen. This man's livelihood is all about fish, and because of nearby pollution from certain businesses that will not be named, they have, ruined his livelihood and his ability to survive. And this is just really emotional because he realizes that, his livelihood and his family will not be able to be supported because of the fish that have been killed by nearby pollution. This is a tortoise that I guess had a one of those 6-pack rings wrapped around him. It stunted his development, and he will have health issues, or may die because of the plastic wrapped around him. This last visual is probably the most, heart-wrenching picture that I've seen that really, made me think about my plastic use and about, participating in the zero waste movement. This whale has been killed, as you can see, by the amounts of trash that were in the water, in the ocean where he lived. And so he was killed and beached. And, that's a lot of trash. And to be in a whale, I mean, such a large animal, and all that trash is because people didn't think about their plastic use. They didn't think about their trash and the results of not recycling, not reducing, not reusing is a result of this. So, those visuals were pretty emotional, and I want to provide examples of how you can reduce, reuse, recycle. So I'm going to start with reducing your waste. The first one would be to avoid purchasing packaged products. If you guys, go to a grocery store, you guys notice that there's a lot. Pretty much everything has a packaged, all the products are packaged with plastic. So avoid doing that. Shop at farmers markets. Not only does that provide local produce, most items are package free and are cheaper than conventional grocery stores. Another way would be start a compost. That's a pretty natural cycle. You have scraps from, let's say, vegetables and whatnot. You put it in your compost. It feeds the earthworms that digest all of those scraps. It provides, fertilizer for, let's say if you have a garden, fertilizer for your plants to produce more food. Once that food is done growing, you then eat it, and it just happens again. So starting a compost would be really good. A big one, probably the most simplest one, is to say no to plastic straws at restaurants. I do that all the time. You don't need a plastic straw to sip your drink. Just sip it regularly. Say no to plastic straws. It's probably the most common plastic product that is found in oceans. Examples of reusing, bring your own container for leftovers at restaurants. A lot of restaurants provide styrofoam containers as well as, plastic containers. So just bring your own. Always carry a reusable water bottle. A lot of places like Starbucks, gas stations, anywhere that has a water fountain, you can refill your water bottle. You don't have to buy a plastic bottle, plus you save money. Bring your own reusable grocery bags. Hawaii has banned plastic bags, thank God, but it's better if you don't even use the paper ones, because then that's less to recycle, and that reduces your waste. Shop from bulk bins. As you see the visual behind me that's used as the background, are bulk bins. You would just bring your own containers, fill up as much as you need. It's really simple, really easy, and it doesn't come with any packaging, which is really nice. Examples of recycling: recycle plastic bottles, recycle cans, recycle paper. Recycle everything that is designated to be recycled. Another example is, instead of throwing away an appliance, try and fix it. It's so easy to just throw it away, but where does that go? And how long does that take to biodegrade? Another example is, instead of purchasing new clothes, shop at thrift stores or swap with some friends. A lot of waste is actually materials from clothes and clothes that don't need to be purchased because the clothes that you have are just as good. And so, in conclusion, I just wanted to leave you with a quote that pretty much summarizes the zero waste movement and why I chose as an individual to participate in the zero waste movement. I just wanted to leave you with this quote, just to get you thinking and you to be aware of what's going on. So the environment and the economy are really both two sides of the same coin. If we cannot sustain the environment, we cannot sustain ourselves. So just be more aware. Be more aware of your waste, and do all that you can to prevent this climate change. Thank you, and thank you for listening to my presentation.